Now, I want to ask, why does your vision that you have not come to pass? Why does it not materialize, you may ask? Because perhaps you've got a vision in your heart for something, and you've always been frustrated because it's never happened. And what causes provision for your vision? I'm going to answer that this morning. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you the 3 things that all vision require. Well, good morning and welcome to Timeout this morning. My name is Jack Vin. Thank you for joining me this morning. I see you there. Now, let me just say, all vision, I believe, comes from God, because God doesn't want us to perish. In Proverbs, it says, without vision, we perish. And so God doesn't want you to perish. And so even if you're not a Christian this morning and you have great vision for commerce, for finances, for business, that vision comes from God. I really believe that. All vision comes from God. And when you want to do something in the community or for God, that vision also comes from God. And so you need certain things to make it happen. And you may say, Jack, why doesn't my vision materialize? Now, let me just explain something quickly about vision. And then I'm going to share a story with you quickly. Now, all vision, as I said, comes from God. God gives, I believe vision is like a picture because it's something you see. Maybe you see it with your natural eye or some of your senses. It's in your heart, but it's a picture. A vision is always something I see. Now, mission, as opposed to a mission, is something I do. So what I do about what I see, but I have to see something first, because that's what vision is. And I believe God gives us this picture. And then we say, I see this, I want to do this for God. I want to accomplish this in my life. But he also puts a little frustration with it. And the reason God puts a frustration there is to remind you that you are responsible for vision, not God. God doesn't need vision, you and I need vision. So he says, what are you going to do about the picture I gave you? So that frustration is like a reminder, do something about your vision. And your frustration may be, I don't know what to do. What makes my vision materialize? Why has my vision failed? And I'm going to show you the 3 things I believe that all vision needs. And perhaps in that, you can see something today. Now, let me get to those 3 things. The 3 things are, first of all, time. All vision needs time. The second one is all vision needs energy. Now, you may not like the word energy, so substitute it with momentum. All vision needs momentum to get going. That's your problem. You say, I just can't get going. Yes, you need momentum in vision. The third thing is all vision needs finances or money. And perhaps you say, I don't like to use the word money or finances. Fine. Let's put it another way. All vision will cost something. Let's just leave it like that. And let me use an example of a world-class sprinter, one that's like an Olympic champion. I want to just use them because you can picture them. They're 100-meter sprinters, and they are the most explosive people on the track because they run only for a short distance, but they need to run fast. And so when you see that sprinter in the blocks and he's getting ready, he's got his fingers on the track and he's staring ahead of him and he's seeing the finish line, he's got a vision that he's going to win. He's got a vision that he's going to cross that line first. He visualizes because he can see the end as he is sitting there in the blocks, but he's standing totally still. He's not allowed to move, otherwise he gets disqualified. So from a standing position, or from a standing position, right, he has to explode and go and win the race. That's his vision. And so while he's sitting there, he's visualizing his vision of winning. But it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're still sitting in those blocks a week later or a month later or 6 months later, even if you're that Olympic sprinter, people are going to say, what happened to your vision about winning? Because you're still there in the blocks. That's not where you finish. That's where you start. And so you have to do something. And so when the gun goes off, that sprinter, for that split second, moves out of the blocks and he goes forward. That's why I say all vision needs momentum. It needs energy to start moving. And so he's moving from a standing position. He's moving, going forward. He's got momentum. And then we all know there's a massive acceleration. All sprinters, they explode and they hit the finish line and they win the race. That's the vision they have. And so that requires, and you may say, well, where does the finances come in? Where does the money come in? Where does the cost come in? Well, when that sprinter is sitting there and he is waiting, there's been hours and days and months of his life that have gone into training. When other people are doing other things, he's training. He is dieting. He is eating special food. He is spending money on shoes. He is spending money on clothing. He is spending money on coaching. He is spending his whole life. There's a cost for him to fulfill the vision that he had to be the best sprinter. So remember, there's always time. And yes, it's all those things took his time, took his family's time. So vision is critical to have time, energy or momentum, and a cost which could involve finances and money. Now I want to say to you this morning, if you've got a vision for your life, if you've got a vision for your family or your children or your business or perhaps for your community, remember there will always be that you have to have a sacrifice when it comes to time, your energy, and a cost. That is how your vision materializes. If you're not willing to do that, your vision will fail. But God wants you to succeed. That's why there's such a frustration sometimes, because you haven't done what you've always wanted to do. So let me just end with the 3 or 4 things that you can do to make your vision happen. That's what it costs. Now, what are the 4 things that you can do? Now, behind me, you'll see that magnificent light steel building. It's, as a matter of fact, it's our new generation next, our church's community hall and our children's church. It's an incredible 800 square meter building. That's the skeleton. It's going to still get concrete and a roof and everything else. But you may say, well, where did that start? I had a vision for that building in my heart more than 10 years ago. And it was there. God gave me a picture. That's what I want you to do. But only a year ago did the team that are involved with that building start doing something. And now there is momentum. Now there is momentum and something is happening, and we're going towards the finish line. So just to say to you, sometimes it takes time. And sometimes it takes momentum and energy, and sometimes it takes a cost, but it will happen. You know, when the disciples Jesus had fed the 5,000, was a brilliant time. They'd seen miracles, and they were in a boat. Jesus told them to get in the boat and meet me on the other side of the lake. I'm going to go pray. And then he came to them in the early hours of the morning, walking on the water. And they were afraid. Now, we weren't talking about, novices. We're talking about first generation disciples that seen miracles, that seen people resurrected and fed the 5,000. And now they were afraid because they had somehow lost their vision because of everything that was happening. Jesus was no longer in their boat. He was walking on the water. It was stormy. And they were thinking to themselves, what must we do? And so I want to leave this with you this morning, something you can do when you're in that situation and your vision is challenged. And, let's just say maybe all the disciples were there because the Bible is not clear. But if 10 of them was there, only 10% of the disciples decided to do something when Jesus said to them, or Peter said to Jesus, if it's you, let me come to you. And he said, come. But he didn't just say to Peter. He was saying to every disciple that was in the boat, come. Only 10% decided it was a good idea. And so perhaps you have to decide that you're part of that 10% that will say, if God says come or go or do, that you will. Now you may ask, Jack, but why did the other 9 or 10, whoever was left there, why did they not get out of the boat? Because they were in the comfort zone. It was easier to stay in the boat. It was safer. They knew the boat. It was their comfort zone. And so here's the first thing you can do. You can decide to get out of your comfort zone. And then the second thing that Peter did, he got out of the boat and his feet touched the water. You have to dip your feet in the water if you want to be part of vision. You can't just talk about it in the boat. You can't just talk about it in your living room. You can't just talk about it in your office. You have to get momentum. You have to get out where you are and into where God wants you to be. And then the third reason why they may have been nervous is because there was a storm and winds were blowing. There was something against them that made them feel that it wasn't going to be easy. Our vision is never supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a challenge, but it's supposed to be something that you can fulfill. God will never give you a vision that you can't fulfill. And so they saw the winds. And then the third reason, the fourth, they didn't understand that it was Jesus, the Son of God, that was saying to them, come. They didn't realize who had said to them, come. And sometimes we have to realize it's God who gave us that vision. And if He says it, He can help us to do it. And we have authority to do it. It's not a suicide mission. It's a mandate from Him. And you're not just, Peter, he got a few steps and then he sank because he looked around. But at least he tried. But if he kept on walking and all the disciples got out and they kept on walking, they would have got to Jesus. But they made one mistake. And that's a mistake that you may have made in your life. You're expecting Jesus to come to you because you have a vision and join you in your boat. And He is saying, come to me and walk on the water. Because you see, vision is not about God doing something. It's about you doing something. He's already given you something to do. Now He's challenging you to come or to go or to be or whatever He's saying. You have to keep doing it. So maybe you stop because it was hard. Keep going. Because ultimately all those disciples would have reached Jesus and they would have said, we can do this because you said come. So don't stop doing what you are doing if that's the picture God's put in your heart. And remember, all vision requires time, energy or momentum, and there may even be a cost. As a matter of fact, there's always a cost. And it may even be financial, it may be in many other areas, but it's worth fulfilling your vision. My name's Jack Vint. You've been watching Timeout. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting, because when you do, you're helping me as a Timeouter to be more positive and to share the positivity out there in social media. And I really appreciate your help. And I'm going to catch you next week. God bless you.